Welcome to the Amazon Legends podcast, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became powerful sellers, also experts specializing in helping sellers, and both former and current Amazon employees who will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here's your host, Nick Urison.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My next guest today used to be a military man. He worked on something much easier than Amazon, I guess, when you compare it, which was nuclear missiles. So he now turned into a seven-figure Amazon seller. He also helps others to start Amazon businesses and scale and sell with the highest return. When he's not working, I find it's even more work, but he finds it relaxing. He's passionate about personal and professional growth. So with that, everybody, meet my guest, Reggie Young. Welcome to the show, Reggie.
Hello, Nick. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be on.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service and thank you for handling those dangerous things for us. So I'm sure that taught you a lot. So when you and I discussed, we were talking about Amazon, but you took a completely different approach to solving challenges. And share with us what that approach is.
Yeah, I think what I really tried to do when I started selling on Amazon and was met with failure after failure is I tried to really just, it sounds like such a basic answer, but just slow down. I just slowed down completely. I completely tried to unplug from everything and tear down all of what had been taught and bring it all the way back down to principles of differentiation, principles of different ways to slow down in life. Like I can go anywhere from meditating to journaling, and using that process to drive my intuition forward to eventually build out a system and a process that helped me identify a winning product.
So what I'm hearing is you've got a challenge at work, and your solution to the challenge is to completely disconnect from work.
Yes.
So that's a great way to solve a problem at work, to really just get away from it and then turn to something else, because it gives you a different perspective, right?
Totally.
So, but obviously this is not like, I remember there's a TV show, I don't know if you ever watched, 2.5 Men.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. No.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, so one is a ladies' man. He never works. He just writes music, jingles. And then his brother is divorced and has a little kid, and then he loves the kid. So one day the kid, his brother leaves the kid with him to take care of the whole day, and his job is to get him to do the homework. So the first thing that the kid does, okay, what am I going to do now? He says, oh, forget it. Let's go to the racetrack. So he says, yeah, but how am I going to get the job done? And then he says, well, you just percolate the whole day and then it will come to you. So when you say disconnect and slow down, it kind of reminded me, but you're not just doing that kind of stuff. So share with us your methodology to slow down so that you can get a better perspective.
Yeah, I mean, slow down means completely, for me, it means reducing all input. So a lot of the times I feel like as entrepreneurs, and myself, I'm probably the most guilty person, is I push through a lot of my problems with extremely hard work ethic. I take every single course I can. I attack it from every single angle, leverage every single resource I possibly can to try and solve a problem. But sometimes when the problem seems unsolvable or too hard or too stressful, I've found that some of my biggest success has actually come from completely disconnecting. And whether that's is something as simple as taking a break all the way down to what I used to do is I reached a breaking point on my entrepreneurship journey when it just wasn't working. The finances weren't working out. Nothing was working out. failed masterclass, failed product launch. And I thought to myself, how do I restructure all of this? And I thought it wasn't the Amazon tactic that I was going after. It was more so my mindset. So I felt like I had to kind of really peel back and deconstruct that. And that came all the way back into, sounds like very simple things, but meditating and journaling were things I really started to dive into at that point. I decided it wasn't the tactic that was messing me up. It was my mindset. It was my way of approaching problems. Regardless of if you're approaching a problem the exact same way, approaching it from a different mindset will yield a different result. And we can all think about, like, if we're really, really hungry, try not to eat for 4 days and then try and build a business. You're not going to buy the best business. If you're angry, if you're frustrated, if you're tired, these things will provide inputs into your decision making. So I started to realize that, hey, even though I'm not this angry person that I think I am, or this frustrated person, or this tired person, or this exhausted person, or this person who can't see different aspects of himself, let me now, because I'm in so much pain financially, so much pain emotionally, not having been able to reach financial success, the problem must be me at this point. It must be me, the operator. So what I did is I completely slowed down. I dove into journaling, meditation, mind mapping, creating visions, problems, solutions, different ways to slow down, different ways to create morning routines, different ways of meditating. And when I was able to do that, it's like all the hard work was there, all the pressure was there, but it's like the intuition allowed me. You kind of just start to flow easily towards solutions instead of trying to like find a needle out of a haystack. And that for me was super powerful, because I ended up coming up with a very advanced product filtration calculator that I made that allowed me to look at 200 opportunities after looking at a ton of them on Amazon and filtering them down by the best of the best of the best, while deconstructing principles and tactics that I had heard about before, and coming up with a new, unique way of finding products that have done really, really well for me since then.
Okay, so I want to understand this because you mentioned journaling a few times now. So when you are journaling, tell us, what are you writing down?
Yeah, I've been journaling since that moment I first told you about, and that moment started for me in 2016. Originally, it started as just a to-do list. It was a small little pocket book I used to carry around at work, and it'd be like, oh, I got to do this, 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 this. Then that small pocket book turned into a notepad, and that notepad got way too long with way too many things going on. So then that notepad turned into me trying to buy different productivity planners, systems, learning about different types of ways of getting things done, 80-20 rule, Eisenhower metrics, flexible time boxing, all these different things. So it originally started off as a way of just trying to create more productivity in my day. But then as I went through, and also having learned things from nuclear missiles, we do things called a root cause analysis, like a deep root cause analysis. And it's the same thing in like the pilot world. Is we identify in a mission, whether it's, usually we always look for the bad things in the military, but something that went wrong, we try and deconstruct it all the way back as to what was that root cause problem, a root cause analysis. So it went from how to make a really good to-do list to, oh, how can I apply what I've learned in the military about deconstructing problems to find a real solution. And then as I started kind of going through this process, I thought to myself, okay, it's not just how I'm operating, it's the inside, it's the battle within, it's my mindset, it's all the programming, it's all the fears, the frustration, all these different things that are also providing inputs into my output. So eventually I started looking into different ways of self-reflection, different ways of gratitude, taking different courses, trying different journals. And then I found for myself that this whole process, if you were to do a gratitude journal and a self-reflection journal and an hour of meditation, and plan out the next 10 years of your life, every single morning while jumping in a hot cold bath and doing, have this 2-hour prep work to finally get some work done, but then you got to actually have to go to work like you're 9 to 5. I found it really hard to do all of it. So over the course of the last legitimately 7 years, I've been trying to build out a really, for myself, originally a very structured way, but yet flexible way that allowed, as life kind of ebbs and flows, as things become either overwhelming or underwhelming, as life throws curveballs at us, I tried to come up with a system. So the things that I actually write down to answer your question, I have a whole process. I actually created a journal here, and I make like 20 cents off the journal. This is not a push for the journal because I legitimately make 20 cents off the journal. Originally, it started for me as a way of just not writing out a certain format every day. I just wanted to be able to have a template and come right to a point of action and not carry 5 different books around me at the end of the day. So here I have a root cause analysis mixed in with self-reflection. My daily pages include what I call or what people call a brain dump, which is, you just don't think about the tasks you have to do at all at that day. You dump it all on a piece of paper. You do this thing called time boxing, where you try and organize based off priority and time and value. What is the most important thing in the day? And then you structure that out, which is people have heard about all of these things I'm going to be talking about before, but putting it into one system is super important. For example, I talked about starting your day from a place where you're not super angry and frustrated. Well, I've learned throughout this process, and what works for me, and it's also what's worked for a lot of other people, is how important it is when you start your day to start with gratitude. Because when you start with gratitude, you actually raise your vibration, you raise your energy levels. If you're grateful that you have the opportunity to be an Amazon seller, if you're grateful for the health that you have, if you're grateful for these things and you really start to fit with them, you're grateful for the connections that you have in your life, and you really start to let that fill you up, you actually operate differently. And you may look at products you never may have looked at before. You may have looked at systems you may have never looked at before. And these are the real things that drive real value forward. They may not drive $10 million tomorrow. They may drive $1 million 5 years from now or never, but they will drive, in my opinion, you being on the highest path towards the best version of yourself. And doing this process for me has been absolutely life-changing. It's crazy. We were talking a couple of days here into 2023. I'm talking about planning. It's kind of the stars are aligning in the aspect of trying to communicate to people that we have to, from the most fundamental level, set goals, get productive, stay focused and achieve them. But if we can do them in a way that is more aligned with coming from a balanced and centered place, we're much better off chasing a goal that we are more aligned with than something that we think we are, right? Some people, for the longest time, we go through journeys of 5-year periods, 10-year periods, careers, lifetimes, thinking that this is what we want. I want to be a military officer. I want to be this career. I want to have this pay. I want to make this much on Amazon. I want to have this many products. And then you get there, and then what, right? And there's different modalities of what people call happiness. Some people, we talked about it earlier, some people think that it's the process of setting goals and achieving, right? But happiness looks different for everyone, but some people who attain, and I find it a pretty common theme amongst sellers and entrepreneurs, is a lot of us kind of have the religion of money. We are chasing a financial dollar instead of chasing in my opinion, more of like a feeling or an impact, or what I like to call the highest version of ourselves. And I find, for me, this process I've come up with really starts to unlock a lot of these roadblocks in people's lives to allow them to step towards that process. I've even helped people with this thought process or system or productivity system I've come up with, and then they've quit Amazon altogether. And for me, that's like, okay, well, then that means that's not your path, right? Just because they may have got funneled in and they believe Amazon FBA is the way to go. We don't want to just blindly accept what people tell us or what we are consuming around us. We really want to find those answers within. And the only way to find those answers within are to slow down. And there's so many different ways to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you said so many things that are really, people don't think about them because we are so busy. It's the right brain, left brain. Left brain is the one that's constantly driving. It's all the process, everything, the to-do list, and one thing after the other. You get up in the morning and then get ready, start doing the things that you do every day, and you don't really slow down to look at the bigger picture. And in the process, the mindset that you have is what fuels everything. And when I say what fuels, that doesn't mean just what fuels you, but what fuels everything else that can come to you. So, and I think that's where the gratitude plays a big role, where it's, the book that I referred to earlier is the called Happiness Advantage. It kind of mentions this. So, and in fact, this is a theory. Tell me if you agree with it. But at the end of the day, everything that happens to us in life is the result of a movement. Something moves from A to B. Either we go from one place to another, and then we meet somebody, and then during that exchange, we get an idea, and then we do something with it. So bottom line, things go from A to B that brings people opportunities or anything else. So movement is powered by what? If you get in the car, you have to have gas in the car, right? So if anything else, if you are walking, you need to have enough nutrition so that you have the energy to walk. So the bottom line, what powers the movement is energy. And that energy is what creates a movement. And that movement can be coming to you or going away from you. So now that's one part of the theory. The other part is when you sit down and start thinking, what is your brain producing? Right? It's producing energy. So if you are thinking good things, that's good energy, good things coming to you. And if you're thinking bad things, then it's bad things coming to you. So that's why people say, it's your thoughts turn into ultimately the events in your life. And so when you say you slow down and then you think and then you journal, starting with gratitude, what I'm hearing is you are focusing on the positive and then giving yourself the time to focus on the positive, right?
Yeah, totally. It doesn't mean at the end of the day that we shouldn't look at things that cause us pain in our life. And I mean, I'm not trying to create fake positivity. That's, I'm not trying to do that. But when I am starting my work, I have a whole process, which is why this journal I came with is just part of a system. I actually have a full course that takes this journal and wraps it around your daily practice and gives you other tools and systems to kind of build your own system for you. But what I don't do is I don't have fake positivity. There are a lot of times throughout my day that I sit in my pain and I sit in my frustration and I decide and I decide I'm angry. I'm not going to push down my anger and my pain, because we all have anger, pain. We've all been hurt. We've all have frustration. And the more we push that down, the more it's going to come out in other ways. And there's so many different ways that manifests in other people's lives. But when it comes to manifesting things that we want to create the highest vibration of ourselves. We want to feel the most energized, the most uplifted, and we want to create and manifest from that space. And you talk about, our thoughts and how powerful our thoughts are. We are the ones that manifest everything in this world. And everything that's ever been manifested has always been a thought first, always. So you're totally right. We have to watch our thoughts, because our thoughts drive our intention. Our intention drives our action, right? Our action drives all kinds of things, drives our destiny, whatever. There's all kinds of different sayings like that. So slowing down allows us to remove some of the pressure, remove some of the noise, remove some of that input, take a couple of deep breaths, and allow for all the things we've learned in our life, right? And when I was a computer science major in university, originally, before I became a business management major, and I was taking Java and I was really struggling with trying to learn the code, my instructor said to me, hey, just disconnect from the computer, go home, don't do any homework for the rest of the night, which is really hard because I had a lot of homework in other classes to do. And he's like, you'd be surprised what happens. You may solve the problem in your sleep when you wake up the next day. You may be playing basketball or doing something like that, and the answer will come to you, right? And that is all types of things happening in the background. That's our brain still processing, our subconscious still processing everything that we need to. And then on top of that, it's removing the pressure, it's removing the I have to be on, it's removing that fight or flight mode that we are in. Sometimes we think that we're working really hard, but we're really just in fight or flight. We're really just working. We're being busy idiots instead of being focused, powerful manifestors operating from intuition back with data and driven logic.
Okay, well, I like the term busy idiots.
Yeah.
Is that, I've never heard that before. Is that something you created?
No, I heard it from Gordon Ramsay years ago when he was someone.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, busy idiots. That's nice. Okay. So let's get practical a little bit. So give us some ways that you are able to slow down with all those, because it takes quite an effort, but it has to be a deliberate effort to have your thoughts, because constantly you got stuff going on. And also, you mentioned the negativity that you have. So how do you deal with those things and then slow down? What are some practical things?
Yeah, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, it's one step at a time. And it's never giving up in its consistency. But the easiest thing that I do that anybody can do right now, legitimately do right now, is they set a timer. They say, "Hey Siri, set a timer 3 times a day to remind me to slow down." And that could come in the reminder of a notification, a push notification, an Apple Watch notification. I use my Apple Watch to give me silent vibrations because I have so many reminders going on. And that can be, we've seen it on Apple Watch, where Apple Watch will tell you to take a deep breath and slow down. We can take a few seconds and make a system right now that reminds us to slow down. And then from there, you can build whatever you want. And one of the things I talk about in my course is there's been a plethora of things that people have come up with that have helped them. As simple as walking outside, as simple as taking a deep breath, as simple as closing their eyes, as simple as going somewhere quiet, as simple as listening to a certain type of playlist or music to raise your energy level or calm you back down, right? Or connecting with one person every single day that you love. When I was building out my business, I got to the headspace where I pushed everyone out because people didn't understand. My 9-to-5 job didn't understand what I was doing outside of work. My family didn't really. People understand to an extent, but as an entrepreneur, when you got to make it work, you have to make it work, no matter what's happening in your life, no matter your health, no matter anything. And I felt that some people didn't understand, so I ended up pushing a lot of people out of my life because I would go and hang out with friends. They'd invite me to the next thing and I'd say, "Hey, sorry guys, I can't make it. I got this to do." And sometimes they ended up getting frustrated at me, thinking that I didn't value them as a friend. Like, "Oh man, don't worry, just come out. You just come out and have a drink for 30 minutes, or you just come by and say hi." And but that kills momentum sometimes when you're trying to create a deep flow state, right? You can't just be doing this stuff, all the time while having a 9-to-5 job, right? So to get back to your answer, there's so many different practical ways. The easiest ways to set reminders now, and you can build out a little mini routine. You don't have to build out this whole 2-hour thing where you jump in an ice bath. Crazy thing. If I could share my screen right now, I would. I literally just got my notification that happens on my desktop, and it said that little bing. If anybody heard it, the question says, "Did you meditate?" ? Because that's the habit I was trying to build a long time ago of daily meditation, and it wasn't working. I wasn't building the habit. I was too busy diving into my checklist for the day. So I created a reminder that reminded me, "Hey, meditate," because sometimes slowing down and removing that will allow you to completely shift or do things differently. So yeah, timer is number one. You can make just a little sheet if you want. You can right now on your iPhone create notes and then create like a calm checklist or slow down checklist. And it could be something that takes a minute. Take a deep breath, stand up, walk outside for a minute, come back, take another deep breath, put some music on. And that's what I do. That's what you do 3 times a day. Check it off, right? There's so many different things in my course. I list out a ton of different things we can do, but do what makes you feel good to start with is what I can say. What makes you, don't cope, but do what makes you feel good to start with. Do something healthy that makes you feel good.
And how long do you usually allow for these little periods of slowing down?
Yeah. For me personally, like when I'm running, I would say like fully optimized. This is just me and where I'm at right now. And because I'm using an Apple Watch, which for me has been the most beneficial, because when I started creating the downside to creating a lot of alarms, if it's not a reminder or if it's an actual alarm, is it the alarm goes off and can be very annoying to a lot of people, or you end up not seeing it because you see so many alarms and the stimulus becomes your baseline, right? So depending on how I'm working, I have maybe had multiple alarms, but usually it's about every 45 minutes. I normally do some kind of 30-minute grounding exercise. And that for me right now, it looks like stand up, take a deep breath, stretch my low back, get water, and maybe walk outside for a second or two. And I'm trying to completely disconnect from what I'm doing and then come back. So that's like my every 45 minutes to an hour. I'm trying to do that. Sometimes I miss it. I may be on a podcast call. I snooze it. I may miss it for another 2 hours or so. But when you start this process, it doesn't have to be something that you hold yourself to. Nobody runs a marathon, right? Their first time taking a walk, right? It's just about, hey, take a step forward. You fell down. You're not going to take another step for a week or two. That's okay. Don't be hard on yourself, right? Just like, hey, just be happy that you are witnessing yourself, trying to be a better version of yourself, and be like, hey, okay, I missed it this time, but I'm going to get it next time. If I don't get it, I'll do it again. And then when you do get it, you're like, this feels great. Then you start to build habits, right? And of course, there's different ways of building habits by habit stacking, and one trigger creates a habit, and that habit, it creates another trigger, right? That's like a pretty common thing in the very famous book, Atomic Habits, that it really helps with building habits. So there's so many different ways to go about it. And I tried to put all of that into a system and a daily routine, because we can have a planner, right? You can have a planner, you can have a list. That just takes care of the day. What about how you start your day? What about your morning routine? What about an evening routine? What about your plan for the week, plan for the month, plan for your life, plan for other people in your life, plan for how you impact them, how you approach them, right? So in my opinion, it's never just a sheet of paper or a hack or a system. It's the totality, like inputs of all these small monumental things that we try and put into our life, and having that compile and just create momentum, create energy, create fluidity, and just let that drive forward. And then with that, we align to what we want to do. What do we want to align with? Hey, right now I want to create 9-to-5 income. I've identified Amazon as what's calling me towards doing that. So I'm going to do this today, this today, this today, from this balanced and centered place.
So I heard you mention something at the beginning, that no input. So when you are slowing down, no input, that means that there is no phones, emails, or anything going on, TV, sound, or tell us what that no input entails.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's based off your environment and your ability to do that. Right. So when I was underground, legitimately when I was underground, nuclear missiles officer, you can't disconnect and not monitor and not respond to messages and things that are happening actively. If you're a 9-to-5 job, you have things, you have family around you, it's hard to reduce input, right? So you try and reduce input as much as you can. That comes down to, well, of course, there's things that are going on in our life where it's a 9-to-5 where you can't just be like, all right, boss, I'm leaving. I'm out the door for the next 2 hours, and then I'm coming back in when I feel good and ready. That's not what I'm talking about. What's really great now as an entrepreneur, I can do that. If I'm having a bad day and I feel like, hey, I'm pushing the wrong way, I'll just completely close everything off. Maybe look at the most important thing that I need to do because I've already planned that out. I'll look at that and be like, hey, can this wait or not? And maybe push through in that sense. I don't know. But reducing input could be, is all the ways like, hey, I'm right now, this is too much. I actually did that a few days ago. I'm at WeWork right now. I left WeWork, caught an Uber home, legitimately turned off all my lights, and I literally crawled into bed and I slowed down. And some people would see that as giving up. There's a difference between being in a fawn state, a state of inaction, a state of helplessness, a state of, like I said, inaction. That's not what I'm talking about, right? And as entrepreneurs, we're always focused on the go, 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 do, turn the wrench. And sometimes we just gotta let off the gas, man. We just gotta cool down. And sometimes the fastest way to cool down is not to put the gas in. That means reducing all input. And that can be legitimately as easy as taking a deep breath, walking to another room for a minute or so. That's the benefit of if you're doing it every 45 minutes, is you're not letting this pressure tank fill up as much. So depending on what's going on in your life and how things happen, it really just comes down to that self-awareness of, am I frustrated? Am I angry? Right. And that can be, in my opinion, a lot of the best things happen right now by asking It's all about asking the right question. We see this with Chat GPT-3, right? Now everyone now is finally saying, ask the right question. Because once we ask the right question, we will intuitively know what to do. Our body, spirit, mind is the best computer out there. It's the best computer. And it isn't until we ask the right question, until we slow down enough to ask that right question, can we actually pivot and move things forward.
So when you slow down, what are the thoughts that you have in your head?
Anger, frustration, helplessness, inspiration, motivation, excitement. I started thinking about other people. What did this person do to me? How did that make me feel? Why did I feel that way? What can I take responsibility for? Wait, why may they be thinking this way? What about what they said is true? What about what they said is not true? What about this process of working on Amazon? Why isn't it not working for me? Is it me not doing the process well? Do I have to go through another repetition? And do I know enough? Am I doing the right thing right now? These types of things will happen naturally. Like the mind and the body and the spirit will ask those questions and you'll answer them, but you'll never be able to hear them if we're busy idiots in the background making a bunch of noise,
So you're not going into your slowing down mode with intentions to think about certain things. It's just you simply unplug and then let things come to you, whatever that is.
Yeah. If you give a framework, that's not slowing down, right? If we say, and that's the limitations with a lot of productivity systems and journaling systems and guided meditations and things like this, they're good to an extent, but nobody knows exactly what you need better than yourself. Nobody knows that better than yourself. So if you're applying the 80-20 rule in your life forever, like you're going to end up a certain way, and that everything will come at a cost. Every single thing will come at a cost. A one way of thinking for the rest of your life will come at a cost. Copying everybody and everything they're doing because it works will come at a cost. Hoping will come at a cost. And the only way to identify these things moving forward in our business, in our life, in our personal life, in our relationships is to slow down. Let those feelings come through. Just let them enter your mind and sit with them. Don't immediately come off and push them off and be like, oh, I don't like that because I don't want to feel uncomfortable right now. So I'm going to push that away and give myself some fake positivity to raise my vibration and be all happy, lucky, and then continue to cope and move in the wrong direction. That's not what I'm saying. Slowing down sometimes can be extremely painful. Extremely painful.
Yeah. So that because you know how it is, and negativity always wins over positivity. So it's for whatever reason, it's always more attractive to think about the bad stuff. So if you let yourself be overwhelmed with all those negative thoughts, so by the time you are done, you may be in a worse place. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Like I said, slowing down sometimes means being in a worse place. But the reality is you're already there. It's just now you're witnessing it. You are already there, which is why you're stressed out, which is why it's not working, which is why you don't feel motivated and fulfilled, and that you're moving, that you're on purpose, and that you're the highest version of yourself. You're in that stressful place because you were already there. And now you're finally witnessing how you feel. So when you feel that way, when you feel angry or frustrated, then you can ask yourself, how do I take radical responsibility? How do I set boundaries with the person or the events that cause this? How can I, from the most basic mindy way of thinking about it, what root cause analysis can I apply here to my goals? How did I end up in this situation? Asking those types of questions. What can I do better next time? How can I show love? How can I be in line with my values, with my budget, with whatever it is? Right. And then from that pain, now we have direction and clarity because we slowed down. Now, I'm not saying you have to find pain to find clarity. It's not what I'm saying at all. But a lot of the times, the thing we've been avoiding, which is pain, on the opposite side of that is clarity. And whether it's happiness, distractions, or pain, or whatever it is, whatever those inputs are, we have to remove them, because only by shedding those inputs can we have the self-awareness to remove the veils and the layers and the programming and what this person said or how I felt or how I've been pushing for 2-3 days or or whatever, because I have all these things going on in my life, right? It's that slowing down that allows us to witness ourselves and witness what we truly want. And then it's from there, the real work begins. From there, it's, man, I did this in this relationship and it really jacked up my relationship, or it's hurting me this way. And because it's hurting me this way, I hurt others. Man, I really didn't want to take advice from my friend who has done this in business because my ego's in the way. And I want to show them that I'm better than that. So instead of slowing down and hearing that person's honest advice, I didn't listen to it. Now I'm $10,000 in debt because I didn't listen to them. Man, maybe if I listened to that person who had success in that moment multiple times, maybe I could have actually learned something from them and I'd be in a different place. So it's just, that's that power of slowing down.
Yeah. Well, this is an example of, things get a lot worse before they get better situation.
Yeah.
So you have to, I guess you have to face it. So this is powerful stuff in the sense that, you said something just a minute ago that, those thoughts that come to you, and then by the time you give yourself the break to be flooded with those thoughts, being in a worse place, what you said is you are already there. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
And it's already affecting everything else. So at least face it, and then the work starts about how. So now the practical question is, okay, fine. So you sat down, you figured things out, and now you know what happened and why you are in $10,000 debt. But what are you going to do about the $10,000 debt? So how are you going to get out of it? So all this thinking, how does it help you pay what you owe right now? So what do you do with that?
You keep moving and you keep moving forward. And that's what happened to me. When I was going through my process of entrepreneurship journey and failed product launch after failed product launch, I was running out of money. And it wasn't until I slowed down, I put a ton of money in crypto. This was around 2020, I forget when. And then I put a bunch of money in, it went all the way up. Crypto had crashed. I had depleted my savings account after going through a military academy, being an officer in the military, saving all this money, living super cheap. And I was still losing money. I was running out of cash. And it wasn't until I slowed down again, like I had mentioned earlier in the podcast, I thought to myself, what can I control? What do I like doing? What courses, what resources do I have available to me? Let me go right back down to the principles of product selection and creating a product. Let me remove some of these other things that people are doing. Let me zig instead of zag. Where do I think things can be done better? I asked myself all these questions. I just kept asking myself questions, slowing down, asking myself questions. And eventually, I didn't just jump into the next thing. I didn't just keep clicking on Alibaba looking for the next product, right? I didn't just keep running through different software thinking that the software is going to give me the answer. It's not what I did. Instead, for me, I found a process that worked for myself. And then that for me was building out a really intense spreadsheet for helping myself find product criteria and filtering product criteria. So instead of spending hours and hours building a list of 10, I'd spend an hour building a list of 200. And then after those 200, I compared 200 using a really unique process and spreadsheet. And then I was able to rack and stack the top 200, look at the top 5% of opportunities. And then from there, I used everything I had learned in my past failures and the courses I was taking. And from there, I was able to source a product for $3,000 and eventually turn that into over $800,000 worth of profit. And I wouldn't have gotten that way if I didn't slow down, because the product I got into at that time, the top 3 reviews on average had about 2,000 reviews. And if I got into that product not having slowed down, if I just looked at it like a busy following all these things that I was doing before, I would never have found that product. I would have never gotten into it. So that's what you do to move forward is you don't give up, right? It's not a slow down and then all of a sudden you find enlightenment and you find the thing and everything gets it's good to go. No, you slow down, then you take action. You slow down, then you take action, right? It's that feedback loop of action, reflection, action, reflection.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. There is another thing. I mean, we're talking. This show is called Amazon Legends, so it's about making it on Amazon, share experiences, share what works, what doesn't work, pick up some good tips. And a lot of the times, these conversations are tactical. So there is a saying that I love: strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. But tactics without strategy is noise before defeat. So all this tactical conversations about how to run PPC, how to create your
exactly
pictures, how to create your A+ pages, how to increase your conversion, all those things are tactical things. What you are talking about is not even the strategy, but it's the fundamentals of the approach to your Amazon business. Maybe you are doing, excuse me, everything right, but it's a broken business model. Maybe no matter what, even if you get everything right, it's still not going to get you the kind of life you are hoping to achieve. So, and how do you know the answers to what the right things are is what you are talking about in the end. And this can be applied all the way from the top of your business model, your margins, your relationships, how you feel about the product you are selling, all the way down to how you're managing the people who are helping you, how you are running the campaigns, the keywords, right? It's all different things that can apply. So it's just getting the right perspective on what you're trying to accomplish is key.
Totally.
The people don't spend time on these things, because they're busy. Everybody is busy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's why it's slowing down is, in my opinion, is the most powerful thing. And the way I think about it too is like a lot of people who reach next level types of success in different categories of what we define as a society as successful. If we look at what they do, a majority of them have some kind of routine, some kind of planner, some kind of process. And at a minimum, that should be enough, in my opinion, for someone to start going down this pathway instead of going down the pathway of, I'm going to take this course and I'm going to do every single action in here, and we're not going to eat, sleep, or, like it's that self-reflection that I think really helps people find success and fulfillment.
Yeah, fulfillment is, success. Again, definition of success is different for everybody. Yeah. And I also want to say this, everybody is indexed to money. It's making money, right? It's the focus is always money. Money is not the end game. It's a byproduct. It's a metric. That's all it is. And it's how you are measuring things. Usually it's measured with money, but it is a byproduct of the value that you generate out of, whether it's a product you're selling or if you are providing a service, it's the knowledge that you share with somebody. That's the real value. And if you can focus on the value, then the money will take care of itself. Because if there's no value in the first place, then it doesn't matter how hard you work. For example, on Amazon, how do you measure value? Well, you measure value with the ratings, the reviews that you have, right? That's the ultimate goal. It's not the sales. I mean, Amazon's A9 algorithm, the reason why they call it A9 is because it's looking at 9 different things. So, one of them is reviews, but not all 9 they contribute equally. So your reviews matter, your daily number of orders matter, but you can't get the sales without having all 9 different things contribute. So you need to pick the right keywords and things like that. So it's just different things, and just money is really, you want to take the money out of the equation and then focus on what is the value. And then maybe that's where the biggest question is. Maybe you're not really delivering the value that the product is supposed to deliver. So
yeah, totally. That's one thing I say in my product and market validation course is the number one thing you want to focus on, and it drives back into value, right? The value, it's hard to create value when value is everywhere. So like if you're looking at whatever's on page 1 for whatever keyword you're looking on, right? Value sometimes, that almost value obviously is creating use case functionality, all that different types of stuff. But to stand out in value, you have to have differentiation. So if you're going to focus on anything else, focus on the product itself, not the packaging, not the whatever. Focus first on the product. Ask yourself, is it creating value? Is it creating the value that the customer wants? And is my value proposition, is it so differentiated or so much better than everyone else that it deserves to be on page 1, position 1, maybe I would say maybe 2 or 3 for position 2 or 3. If not, then you need to look further, or you need to look at a whole nother product, in my opinion, right? And that's like, we're kind of shifting focus now into value and differentiation. But instead of learning about PPC and how, my ROAS influences my ACoS, influences my click-through rate, influences my conversion rate. And man, if I just spend, it wasn't for that, if I didn't have such a low budget keyword or this and that, and then I would have made it. Or, if my Chinese supplier wouldn't have messed up, or if this wouldn't have happened. Like, no, if you focus first on product differentiation and creating that value first, everything starts to work out, assuming you did the critical things correct. If your product differentiation, your value is there, your PPC will work completely better. It'll be a night and day difference than the rest of the market, because it makes sense, right? But if it's not, then everything starts, all of a sudden your conversion rates are falling. Your influencer campaigns don't work. Your Google ads aren't working. Nothing's working because the value isn't there. You're driving traffic. You're spending energy on a listing that doesn't offer value to what else is there.
yeah. Well, one of the things that came up frequently with my other guests was Amazon is a marketplace of keywords instead of seeing it as a marketplace of products. People are searching keywords. So first of all, you need to really associate your product with the keywords. So that's what's going to bring the exposure to your product. You can do all the PPC advertising. Let's say you have all the money in the world, the endless budget to bid on every single keyword. Well, they're not going to do anything unless people click on it. And people are going to click on it if they feel that, the product that they are looking at the picture of is relevant to the search that they've just done with that keyword. Then comes the next thing. And the next thing is, what is their experience is going to be like using that product in terms of how it's going to impact them. Whether if it's a utility type product, what problem is it going to solve? How much is it saving time, or is it something that keeps costing money, or whatever the case may be? Or if it's an emotional type item, where you're buying toys for your kids or some educational product. So how will the kid feel about using that, playing with it? So it's all about having people see themselves using the product, and then sharing that experience in so many words with pictures, putting them in the picture, so to speak. That is going to communicate the value. That way, people will connect with the item that you are selling. So
yeah, totally. I hear what you're saying too. And I'd like to kind of overlap that with when I was the number 6 best-selling chef knife. I think it was 2018, before I stocked out on December 5th. Unfortunately, I lost out on a lot of sales. Could never recover from all those lost sales. I got so granular with trying to map that that experience to the customer, right? We want to provide that differentiation. So I went and found a chef knife that was completely different than the rest of the market, but still matched the market, which is very important. Had a really beautiful handle on it. I was able to pull out. I knew what people wanted. I did all the research, but I did the research so granularly that I know, of course, people wanted a sharp knife, but I knew the word they were looking for was, quote, sharp right out of the box, was how they described their experience. So for me, I was like, okay, the box needs to be legit. Like, this is going to be kind of a giftable item. So I want the box to be legit. I had a magnetic clasp with a nice Japanese logo on there. I like done the research on what logo it should be, had nice, all these different things, right? I created the bullets that said sharp right out of the box. So that's just, instead of just saying sharp and giving some type of carbon steel that nobody knew what was what, I said sharp right out of the box. And then I went and said, it's this type of steel, but then I compared it and said, which is 2 to 3 times stronger than X steel, for people who care about steel and stuff like that. That's how I mapped the market, created that differentiation. One, even though the product itself was sharp and had steel that was already on the market, I created that differentiation through understanding the target market and then relaying that to the customer in a way in which they could understand, in which they wanted it to be heard and experienced, which was sharp right out of the box. And then I took that bullet point, sharp right out of the box, because I knew how important it was. I knew his priority, because I could tell by the frequency in which it showed up in his reviews. And then I was able to craft a story. So when I crafted the story with the bullet points and the data, I was able to craft an image board of what the story should look like. And then with the image board, I was able to show legitimately the box, the knife, and I would say sharp right out of the box. And in the video, I had the influencer, the video person who was making the video, they legitimately, I said, show the box opening, flipping it around, and grabbing the knife. And then when that happened, I had a professional audio person come over the video, and they timed it with sharp right out of the box, right? And then I knew what knife or what things people were cutting a chef knife with and order of frequency. So I knew it was fruits and vegetables first, onions number 1, then fruits and vegetables, then meat, and then sushi specifically. So then I made sure that I had shots of each one of those, and I prioritized them based off the frequency. And that was just from the keyword, or from the balanced word of sharp right out of the box. So I did that, and I did it for everything. For every single product, I find at least 3 or 4 of those really important unique selling points, your unique selling points, the people's things to care about become your points of differentiation, becomes how you tell your story, becomes your marketing material, becomes all your creative, all those different things. And you just tell it in a really nice, good story. And then you just keep doing it over and over till you reach success.
Yeah. I mean, it's you said the word granular. This is as granular as it gets. So that's the only way. Reggie, this was very interesting. So we covered the fundamentals of really success, and then you tied it back to how you actually applied it. So very useful. So let's learn a little bit about you. So tell us, I know you were in the military, but tell us about your early years. Where did you grow up, and how did you get to make the decisions that you made in your life?
Sure. Yeah. I was born and raised in Hawaii. My parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. And every Monday I would switch houses. Every Monday I'd pack all my stuff up, or most of it, in a couple of bags, and I would switch houses every single Monday like clockwork. And when I looked around, when I turned 17 or 18, I was a straight DNF student. I loved playing video games. I was really good at Super Smash Brothers for the GameCube. If anybody wants to have a good fight, we can play. And I decided, looking forward, I just knew that I could do more, even though I was the laziest kid you ever met, who couldn't solve a pre-algebra problem to save his life. I just knew that I wanted to jump into the fire for many different reasons, so that I didn't end up like people that I saw like 4 or 5 years ahead of me. I just didn't want a certain lifestyle. I wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do things. I want to serve my country. I want to do all these different things. So I just decided, and I want school to be paid for, but I had DNF grades. So I knew applying for scholarships wasn't going to work. I hated writing. So I just decided, you know what, in 2007, I'm going to join and enlist in the military. And so I signed up I wanted to be a combat medic. The military instead decided that I would be a medical technician. So I did more like CDC type of public health work, tracking swine flu and adenovirus as a medical technician. And then my boss decided I'd be a great officer in the military, but they had to send me to a military university, which is the Air Force Academy. But because my grades were so bad before, I had to go to a year of a military preparatory school. So I gave up my rank after being in for 3 years, went to this military preparatory school. I was 22 years old, being trained by people younger than me, telling me about how the real military was, while also trying to learn calculus. I went from algebra to calculus 1 in 10 months, and I did that in math, science, and English, and it was extremely hard. While having to humble myself around people who were telling me things about the military that I already knew. And then I went to the Air Force Academy for 4 years, and I was just constantly redefining what hard work meant. Calc 1, Calc 2, Aero, Astro classes, calculating like how satellites transfer across, like weird stuff like that, while water survival class in the morning, while trying to learn how to code to be a computer engineer, then switching to computer science because I love computer science and wanted to build the next Iron Man suit. I thought that was really cool. Couldn't really hack it with everything going on. Stressed out at that point, reaching 26 years old in university, broke, stressed out. Switched to business management to survive. Ended up discovering my passion for business, realized that I love creating more than I like anything else. And business was kind of the way of doing that. And I love money. So I was like, oh, business is where it's at. I want to map towards the most private equity type of business job there was in the military at the time. Unfortunately, I wasn't selected for that. They had a bunch of things happening in the nuclear community at the time. So they selected more officers from the Air Force Academy to become nuclear missiles officers. So I was underground. I spent about a day and a half above ground, a day and a half below ground as a nuclear missiles officer for about a little over 4 years, about 5 years with training. And it was there that I discovered my obsession for entrepreneurship. I originally, like I said, I wanted to do business on the outside. And I decided, hey, at the end of my 5-year contract, I would be 13 years in the military. I want to get out after 13 years and I want to pursue business. But I couldn't go to any schools or in my small town local area of Minot, North Dakota, an hour south of the border. It was cold country. There was nothing there really that I could do educational wise. So I was like, well, let me do a master's in finance. Let me do all these different things. And very quickly, I realized what I liked doing was entrepreneurship. My first thing to build my resume was I wanted to say I did something on the side. So I sourced iPhone 6 case from Alibaba. I didn't take any kind of course. I thought my degree in management from the university was more than enough. After $4,000 in lost advertising, boxes and boxes of iPhone cases, and my mom being basically my only customer besides somebody in Turkey that filed the chargeback, I decided, hey, I should probably take a course. And then after taking the courses and still failing, meaning some success, my first Shopify store did $64,000 in sales the first month, but I had paid for a lot of coaching because I had some extra money at the time. So I was just doubling down. Eventually I was like, okay, what I want to do, I love entrepreneurship. I want to have the freedom to work from my laptop and be anywhere in the world. Pretty crazy because eventually after a few years, success and failure, I'm able to replace my income fully. COVID happens. I start traveling. The world locks down. I find myself in Mexico. Everyone goes fully remote. And I'm like, man, if I knew everyone was going to work remotely, maybe I would have just got like a regular job and, work remotely. But thankfully, things are going really well. I was consulting for businesses who have exited for $3 million and up, and helping people from a freelance perspective. Eventually decided to sell my business with that investment I told you about, turning a $3,000 investment to over $800,000 in profit. That includes the exit. And since then, I've gone on to consult with other aggregators. I've decided I want to give back to the person that I was 5 years ago when I was stressed out, being a busy idiot, not having the tools and the resources. The system, as slow as it is slower, as low as it comes down to or simple as it comes down to slowing down with a good journaling system, a good productivity system, which is why I came up with this journal that I legitimately make 20 cents off of. I just want to get it in people's hand. And then building out a course library to help other e-commerce sellers. So the last 9 months, on top of consulting here and there and traveling and doing a lot of self work and a lot of slowing down to deconstruct things that I've learned, to unlearn the things that I want to learn and reach different things that I want to learn and obtain. I've been doing that, like I said, building out this course library to eventually, if anyone ever hears this and they're maybe in a similar situation or know somebody that is, I'd never want to charge thousands and thousands of dollars like I got charged. I spent over $60K on education, on e-commerce education, $10,000 masterminds, $3,000 courses, ClickFunnels, SEO, everything, drop shipping, Google ads, Facebook ads, everything, SMA, like all the things. And trying to find that success, trying to put all those things together. And I never want to be, I just want to give that back, but I don't want to give it away for free because I want to be compensated for my work a little bit. Some of that is to a bonus to my team, and then give some people an incentive to actually change their life. So what I do is this Vault subscription is $18 a month, or it's like $500 if you want to buy lifetime access. And in there, I'm just loading it up with course after course after course of e-commerce, digital marketing.
Share with us, how can people find that? Where can they sign up?
Yeah, if anyone's interested at all, they can go to reggieyoung.com/Vault, or the link in your description as well, preferably. And with that, if you are a Vault member, you actually get a free copy of this journal, which means I lose money. But I really want to help people. And there I provide group coaching, private coaching, just continually adding value. It even includes software that makes it basically covers the cost for sellers. And that is kind of my promise fulfilled. And one great thing about it is I donate a meal to a hungry person in need every month with the income that comes from that from individual subscriptions. So it's kind of meant to be a win-win for everybody. The entrepreneur wins because now they have access to information that cost me not a lifetime, but a lot of pain and finances. Compiling those things together, things learned, experiences, partnerships, software, it helps a person in need. And then I can tag it as a bonus to my virtual assistants, and everybody wins in a way. So
great. So we will definitely post the link with your episode, so it will be circulated. So you put everything that you worked hard for into this subscription-based service that you are offering people. And then also anybody wants to work one-on-one, you are also able to offer that through that same system, right?
Yeah, I legitimately put 99% of what I know behind the Vault. The 1% I save for private coaching and for high-ticket clients. But yeah, I do that. And then as well is the other thing I'm doing that other entrepreneurs may be interested in is I am also a certified exit planning advisor. So I help people who are interested in selling their businesses. And one thing I do is, instead of just referring them to a brokerage, is I actually look at your Amazon business as another entrepreneur, provide my value, my input. Having now worked with aggregators, all the biggest brokerages, the upcoming ones, I try and provide value, negotiation. I sit on the negotiation calls with you. I connect you with my CPA, my network, to try and maximize your valuation, both before exit and after exit as well.
Great. Thank you, Reggie. So give us the contact information one more time.
Sure. It's reggieyoung.com. That's REGGIE. Young, like opposite of old, reggieyoung.com/Vault. And if for some reason $18 isn't enough to get you moving, just click the free pop-up that shows up. And I have a ton of resources that will help you out right now with wherever you are in your entrepreneurship journey.
Great. Thank you. This was a very unusual episode, but I would say, as we discussed, a very high value, and I would recommend everybody to take it to heart and apply it. Thank you for being here, Reggie.
Nick, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. And this brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure and subscribe, rate, and review our show. And be sure and share an episode with a friend. And thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week here on Amazon Legends.